Daddy, her baby is freezing. How a CEO single dad and his little girl saved a homeless mother. The sound of a baby's cry pierced through the howling winter wind, stopping 6-year-old Emma and her father in their tracks. What happened next would change 3 lives forever, bringing together strangers from different worlds in a moment of pure humanity. If this story touches your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to see more real-life stories that restore faith in human connection. Michael Chen stood frozen on the sidewalk, his daughter's small hand tugging urgently at his expensive wool coat. The December air bit at their faces as snowflakes swirled around them, but it wasn't the cold that had stopped them. It was the sound, unmistakable to any parent, of an infant in distress. Daddy, her baby is freezing. Emma's voice trembled with concern as she pointed toward the alley between 2 buildings. Michael had been rushing them both to his car after a late meeting had kept him at the office longer than planned. As CEO of Horizon Technologies, his mind had been occupied with quarterly projections and investor meetings, not with what might be happening in the shadows of the city he barely noticed anymore. Emma, wait, but his daughter had already broken free, her pink boots leaving small imprints in the fresh snow as she darted toward the sound. Michael had no choice but to follow, his heart racing with both parental concern and an unexpected sense of shame that his 6-year-old had heard what he had been too busy to notice. The alley was dark, illuminated only by the distant glow of street lamps and the soft blue light from Michael's phone as he activated the flashlight. The beam revealed a young woman huddled against the brick wall, cradling a bundle wrapped in what appeared to be several thin blankets. The woman's face was gaunt, her eyes wide with fear as the light hit her face. She instinctively turned away, shielding the bundle in her arms. "It's okay," Emma said, approaching without hesitation. "My daddy can help. He helps everybody." Michael felt a lump form in his throat. Is that how his daughter saw him? The irony wasn't lost on him. He'd spent the last hour in a meeting discussing cost-cutting measures that would eliminate 50 jobs before Christmas. The woman looked up, her eyes meeting Michael's. She couldn't have been more than 25, but exhaustion and hardship had etched lines around her eyes that made her appear older. The baby in her arms whimpered again, a weak sound that seemed to physically pain the mother. "We're just resting," the woman said, her voice hoarse. "We'll move on." Emma had already removed her own little mittens and was trying to place them over the blanket where she thought the baby's hands might be. "Babies need to be warm," she stated with the simple certainty of a child. "My daddy says so." Michael knelt down, careful to keep some distance to avoid frightening the woman further. "I'm Michael. This is my daughter, Emma. Can we help you get somewhere warm tonight?" The woman hesitated, clutching her baby tighter. "I'm Sophia. This is Lily. She's 3 months old." Her voice broke. The shelter was full. "They said to come back tomorrow, but..." Michael nodded, understanding the unspoken fear. Tomorrow might be too late for a baby in these temperatures. "There's a hotel 2 blocks from here," he said, already removing his coat despite the biting cold. "Please, take this for now." Sophia shook her head, pride momentarily overriding desperation. "We don't need charity." Emma, with the disarming directness of children, looked confused. "But Daddy, you always say helping isn't charity. It's just being human." Again, Michael was struck by his daughter's words he had indeed spoken to her, though he couldn't remember the last time he had actually lived by them. Since losing his wife to cancer 2 years ago, he had retreated into his work, building walls around his grief with spreadsheets and business strategies. "Emma's right," he said softly. "Please, let us help you tonight. No strings attached." Something in his tone must have convinced Sophia, or perhaps it was simply that Lily gave another cry, this one weaker than before. She nodded once, allowing Michael to drape his coat around her shoulders. The walk to the hotel was slow, with Sophia stumbling from exhaustion. Without thinking, Michael gently took the baby, cradling her against his chest while Emma held Sophia's free hand, chattering about her kindergarten class as if they were old friends. The simple act of holding an infant again, feeling that small weight against his heart, awakened something in Michael that had been dormant since his wife's death. At the hotel, the night manager's eyes widened at the sight of the disheveled group, but Michael's confident tone and platinum credit card quickly secured a suite. Once in the room, Emma immediately took charge, instructing her father to order all the food while she showed Sophia where everything was. "The bathtub is really big," she informed Sophia seriously. "And there's those little soaps that look like seashells. Lily might like those." While Sophia bathed her daughter in warm water for the first time in days, Michael sat on the edge of the bed, phone in hand. He had intended to call his assistant to reschedule tomorrow morning's meetings, but instead found himself staring at a photo of his late wife holding newborn Emma. The parallels between that moment and what was happening now struck him with unexpected force. When Sophia emerged from the bathroom, Lily wrapped in fluffy hotel towels, the room service had arrived. As they ate, Sophia's story gradually unfolded. She had been a nursing student, just a semester away from graduation when she discovered she was pregnant. The baby's father had disappeared, her parents had disowned her for keeping the child, and medical complications during pregnancy had forced her to withdraw from school. Without family support or completed credentials, she had quickly spiraled into homelessness after Lily's birth. "I've applied for everything," she said, her voice stronger now that she was warm and fed. "But without an address, without childcare, it's impossible to even get an interview." Michael listened, really listened, in a way he hadn't done with anyone except Emma in years. As CEO, he had trained himself to hear only what was relevant to business decisions. Now, he found himself absorbing every detail of Sophia's struggle, recognizing the intelligence and determination that circumstances had overwhelmed. Emma had fallen asleep on the couch, curled up like a small comma. Sophia looked at her with a sad smile. "She's amazing. You've done a wonderful job with her." Michael shook his head. "I haven't, not really. Since her mother died, I've been present but not present. Emma deserves better." "You stopped tonight," Sophia said simply. "That counts for something." Those words stayed with Michael as he tucked Emma into one of the suite's beds, as he insisted Sophia take the other bedroom while he took the couch, and as he lay awake staring at the ceiling, his mind racing with thoughts he hadn't allowed himself to have in years. Morning came with the soft sounds of Lily cooing and Sophia's gentle murmurs. Michael had already been awake for hours, making calls and sending emails from his phone. When Emma woke, she immediately asked about their new friends, and insisted on helping order breakfast for everyone. Over pancakes and coffee, Michael cleared his throat. "Sophia, I have a proposition for you. No obligation to accept." She looked up warily, and he realized how his corporate phrasing must have sounded. "Sorry, that came out wrong," he said, smiling ruefully. "What I mean is, I think I might have a solution, if you're interested." He explained that Horizon Technologies had an on-site daycare center for employees, currently operating under capacity. They also had an opening in their human resources department for an assistant position that required no previous experience, just organizational skills and empathy, both of which Sophia clearly possessed. The company also owns several apartment buildings as investments, he continued. "There's a vacant one-bedroom unit in a building near the office. It's nothing fancy, but it's safe and warm." Sophia stared at him, her fork suspended midway to her mouth. "Why would you do this? You don't know me." Emma, mouth full of pancake, answered before Michael could. "Because you're our friend now. Right, Daddy?" Michael smiled at his daughter, feeling a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with the hotel's heating system. "Right. But also because it makes good business sense," he added, turning back to Sophia. "I've been looking at our company culture, and we've lost something important. We need people who understand real struggle, who can help us remember what matters beyond profit margins." Sophia's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Emma suggested helpfully. And then can Lily come for a playdate when she's bigger? 3 months later, Sophia sat at her desk in the HR department, a framed photo of Lily beside her computer. She had just finished processing paperwork for Horizon's newest initiative, a partnership with local shelters to provide job training and placement services for parents experiencing homelessness. The program had been Michael's idea, but Sophia had helped shape it, bringing her first-hand knowledge to ensure it addressed real needs rather than just looking good on corporate responsibility reports. Michael had changed too. He still worked long hours, but he was home for dinner with Emma every night, and he had started a tradition of Sunday volunteer work that they did together as a family. Sometimes Sophia and Lily joined them, and Emma had declared them all a different kind of family, a concept Michael found himself increasingly comfortable with as the months passed. The company had changed as well. The cost-cutting measures Michael had been planning that snowy night had been replaced with more creative solutions that preserved jobs while improving efficiency. Employee satisfaction scores were up, and surprisingly, so were profits. It turned out that a company that valued humanity attracted both talented employees and loyal customers. One evening in early spring, Michael found himself back on that same street corner where they had heard Lily's cry. Emma had insisted on bringing flowers to place there, to mark the spot where our family got bigger, as she put it. As they stood there, Emma's small hand in his, Michael reflected on how a moment of simple human connection had rippled outward, changing not just 3 lives but an entire corporate culture. He had spent years building walls around his heart after losing his wife, focusing on success and security at the expense of connection. It had taken his daughter's innocent compassion and a chance encounter to remind him of what truly mattered. "Daddy," Emma said, interrupting his thoughts, "do you think there are other babies out there who are cold tonight?" Michael knelt down to her level, looking into eyes so like her mother's. "Yes, sweetheart, I think there are." "Then we have more work to do," she said with the simple certainty that continued to humble him. He nodded, knowing she was right. They had more work to do, not just as CEO and daughter, but as human beings sharing a world where too many were left in the cold. The journey that had begun with a baby's cry in the darkness was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. As Sophia would later say in the interview that went viral and brought national attention to their story, sometimes salvation comes from the most unexpected places, from the innocence of a child who still sees clearly what adults have forgotten to look for. If this story moved you, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories that remind us of our shared humanity. In a world that often feels divided, these moments of connection are what bind us together and give us hope for a better tomorrow.